What's up guys, it's Tommy here and welcome to a video where we will talk about why the Premier League is likely to win its case against Man City and why it's likely that Man City will get relegated, not just to the Championship but potentially to English League 2 or even the Conference League or lower, because their case, which the Court of Arbitration for Sport heard, and also they cleared Manchester City on a technicality. In this video we will take a look at why the independent committee of the Premier League will not clear Man City most likely in this case. So if you are excited about this video and if you enjoy my videos, make sure to like this video, subscribe and turn on bell notification if you're new around here so you never miss the latest uploads around mainly Liverpool FC. But this is such a huge case because the hearing will start maybe even next week. I heard rumors that the hearing could start next week, but definitely it starts this month in September, and the conclusion will be reached maybe December, January, and then we will get a verdict of hopefully Man City getting relegated. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think the punishment will be for Man City if they are found guilty? There is no way that they will be found innocent of all 115 charges that the Premier League charged Man City with, and also they worked 4 years on this case. So many people think that Man City will be cleared at the independent commission for these 115 charges rather than be sanctioned, and the reason for that among many people is that because of the outcome at the Court of Arbitration for Sport, or CAS as we will refer to them in this video. So in 2020 Man City got their sanctions from UEFA for similar charges overturned, and many people think it's all going to be the same, but nothing could be further from the truth. If you properly analyze the CAS decision as well as the difference in evidence that was presented by UEFA and the Premier League and the difference in legal processes, you realize that the CAS decision tells a story whereby Man City are in big trouble. So what do people get wrong here? And in this video we will take a look at these three things. So people think CAS completely cleared Man City, which is not true. Sometimes they think that CAS said all the leaked emails were false or inadmissible, which is also not true. They think the independent commission will be an exact rerun of what happened at CAS in terms of evidence and result, which is also not true. So let's talk about the first thing. The common misconception is that CAS cleared Man City, which is not true. They did not clear Man City. Clearing implies Man City were deemed innocent. They were not. The CAS finding was that UEFA failed to make its case that Man City's owner transferred funds to Man City's sponsors and that the sponsors that paid Man City as if it were legitimate commercial revenue. However, the Court of Arbitration for Sport also found that 3 of Man City's executive team had requested that their board director Simon Pearce at the time make this happen multiple times over the course of years. Simon Pearce was also the key advisor to the dictator of the United Arab Emirates, who owned all the sponsors that Man City were a sponsorship contract with. The executive team wrote as if they believed it had happened. As such, the CAS panel anonymously found a conspiracy by Man City executives to subvert and break the rules. Then a majority of the CAS panel, 2 out of 3 people, decided that the evidence was not sufficient to show that Pearce, Man City's owners or the sponsors ever joined in on the conspiracy or made it happen. That means 1 out of 3 arbitrators at CAS thought the evidence was sufficient. I will explain why that's really important in part 3 of this thread, but the CAS panel also made an anonymous finding of the fact that carrying out the proposed arrangement would require criminal acts As such, combining these two findings means that CAS found multiple Man City executives sought a criminal conspiracy. It is worth pointing out that these executives were then never fired by Man City's board. One was even promoted within the City Group. This is not clearing, this is still damning evidence against Manchester City, and you can pause the video and pause the screen at any time if you want to read all the details about this particular part of the case. But to summarize, based on the evidence in front of it, the Court of Arbitration for Sport ruled that the majority of the panel is also not comfortably satisfied that the sponsorship contributions paid by Etihad to Manchester City were procured to be funded by the Abu Dhabi Royal through unidentified third parties. The theoretical possibility that this may have happened can certainly not be excluded, but that is not the standard to be applied. It is for UEFA to establish to the panel's comfortable satisfaction that this executive routed funds to Etihad through third parties, and the panel finds that UEFA did not satisfy this burden. And now let's talk about the second point, because the emails that were leaked and that show that Man City broke the rules, they are real and admissible. And Man City never once said that the emails were fake. A Man City executive, actually the head of finance at Man City, and the board director, Simon Pearce, both admitted at the Court of Arbitration for Sport that the leaked emails were real. No one with even half a brain believes they are fake. Most Man City fans trust Stefan Borsen on these matters. Here's what he has to say about the authenticity of the emails. All of the leaked emails would be admissible at the independent commission, and English law has no provision against the use of criminally obtained evidence. However, the Premier League won't even have to use them. They will all have all the original emails from Man City's own servers thanks to the discovery process. The process that Man City fought in English courts, which is why the Premier League investigation took 4 years. So Man City were obligated to give all the evidence, all their emails to the Premier League, but they refused to do so. So the Premier League had to go through the English courts to obtain all these emails. So the Premier League has all the original emails that Man City sent. These emails also existed in the Court of Arbitration for Sport hearing as part of leaks of millions of emails and other documents transacting the running of a business. Only with the full body of evidence can conclusions be drawn. Based on the body of evidence to Court of Arbitration for Sport, the allegations were not made out. At the Premier League we will see, but all of the emails are real and nobody has suggested they are not. And this is somebody who used to work for Man City saying this. But witness evidence as unequivocal and as senior as this, when given to the independent commission, is likely to be persuasive and hard to counter. Not impossible, but hard, because the Premier League will have to say they are wrong. These are not people that can be said to be easily mistaken. So this makes the case for Man City to argue their innocence even harder. The Premier League actually has these emails that show that Man City broke the rules, circumvented the rules, went around the rules. You get it. If you want me to make a separate video on all the actual evidence that is damning against Man City, maybe I will do that. Just let me know in the comments below. And this independent commission or committee will be very different from the Court of Arbitration for Sport. So much went wrong for UEFA at CAS. Most of it was their own fault. In the CAS decision, it is made clear that UEFA prioritized expedience over justice. Man City wrongly refused to comply with an evidentiary demand for 95% of the leaked emails in original form. UEFA could have challenged this and had CAS forced Man City to supply the emails like the Premier League has, but UEFA didn't challenge this and they chose not to. UEFA decided it was more important that the hearing be concluded before the start of the new season and opted to proceed with a very limited evidence base, because UEFA was in a rush to conclude this because the Champions League was kicking off and it would have been an absolute disaster if in the middle of the Champions League campaign, Man City would have been banned from the Champions League for 2 years. In reality, their entire case, UEFA's entire case at CAS, was based on just 6 original copies of leaked emails that Man City would hand over. The Premier League has hundreds, if not thousands, of the original emails of Man City. Thankfully, the Premier League has not made such an incompetent error. It has fought for more than 4 years to get all the evidence from Man City before the independent commission starts, all of the originals of the leaked emails, and even more than we have never seen publicly. UEFA also had a much bigger hill to climb than the Premier League will. CAS operates its own highly subjective standard of proof called comfortable satisfaction. The more serious the charge, the more it takes for them to be comfortably satisfied that charges have been proved. CAS is the only court in the world that operates such a standard, probably because of how being comfortably satisfied is so subjective in terms of what it means. CAS defines it as being a higher bar than the standard of proof called on the balance of probabilities, standard for English civil law that the independent commission will apply, but lower than beyond reasonable doubt, which is also standard for English civil law. However, it is clear that 2 out of 3 CAS arbitrators misapplied the standard anyway. In a paragraph they wrote, the arrangements discussed must be rooted in a contemporaneous accounting or transactional evidence, for otherwise it cannot be ascertained that the arrangements discussed in the leaked emails were in fact executed. They actually applied a standard of certain proof. For this is what ascertained means. To make certain, that's what it means. So it's a major screw up because they wrote it explicitly, and it demonstrates improper decision making of those 2 arbitrators to misapply the standard. The great news is that this will not happen at the independent commission, who will operate a much lower standard of on the balance of probabilities. The independent commission will simply decide whose arguments are more probable. That's it. Now, looping it back to part 1 of this thread, 2 out of 3 arbitrators decided that the 6 emails they saw were insufficient to clear a bar of comfortable satisfaction and sanction Man City. So, however, 1 arbitrator agreed. They were willing to sanction Man City at a required standard of proof of comfortable satisfaction despite there being just 6 emails. Most people overlook this. However, 1 arbitrator, so that means that at the independent commission, the Premier League will have way more damning evidence and a lower bar to clear than just 6 emails. They will have hundreds of emails proving that Man City cheated, broke the rules. So it's not looking good for Man City, and it gets even worse. After the hearing, reporters learned more about the arbitrators and discovered that Man City proposed 2 of the 3 arbitrators who both had question marks over their independence and suitability for the role. No accusation of conspiracy, but there were concerns regarding apparent conflicts of interest. One was a partner in a law firm whose clients were the sponsors accused of conspiring with Man City to subvert financial fair play. His firm's clients were owned by the state of the United Arab Emirates. He even used to head up the Middle East as a region at his firm. His compensation at work would have undoubtedly been tied to revenues secured from those clients, meaning a portion of his pay came from the same person who owned the sponsors and who owned Man City. I mean, how could he even be an arbitrator on this case? I don't understand this. The other arbitrator in question was the president of the panel, proposed by Man City against standard protocol for appointing a president. Again, how was this allowed? I don't understand. His own website showed he was interested in working more in the oil and gas sector. This is worthy of concern because Man City clearly had cause to want him and they should not have been proposing a president. The protocol was breached. Folks like Borson say that if UEFA had concerns, then they would have raised them. However, we know that UEFA prioritized expediency over everything else. They simply wanted this matter over with and not drawn out or appealed further. So no, they clearly didn't raise them. Likely also why none of UEFA, the arbitrator or CAS responded for comment from the reporter. So what is really important to note is that nothing like this will happen at the independent commission. Now it looks really bad for Man City if you take all these things into account. So to recap on why this Court of Arbitration for Sport decision makes it more likely that the Premier League will win this case, and hopefully in the process they will relegate Manchester City, and hopefully they will strip them of their titles because they got those titles through cheating and breaking the rules. Concerns that 2 out of the 3 arbitrators at CAS may have been conflicted. Despite all this, all 3 arbitrators said the leaked emails were real and showed Man City wanted to break the rules. 1 out of 3 arbitrators found against Man City on just 6 emails and at a comfortably satisfied standard of proof. So even though there were only 6 emails presented, 1 arbitrator still thought that that's enough evidence to find Man City guilty. At the independent commission, the Premier League will have all the leaked emails, hundreds vastly more damning than the 6 emails that people saw at the Court of Arbitration for Sport, plus more, as well as a lower hurdle to clear on standard of proof. And no one at the independent commission should be conflicted. No one should be under any influence from Manchester City. So that's why I'm saying that I'm really confident, and more people are confident that Man City will get banned from the Premier League, relegated, demoted. I think a fair punishment would be to relegate them to non-league football so they can't bounce back in just 1 or 2 seasons. That's a proper punishment, and that will deter people from doing what Man City has done in the future. And they also should be stripped of all their titles. And the second place team in the Premier League, who finished second behind Man City in each season when they cheated and broke the rules and won the Premier League, the second place team should get the Premier League title retrospectively. That's my opinion. Let me know what is yours in the comments below, and thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. Have a nice day. See you later. Goodbye.